Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Dior, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 9. This will be the last match for the season for me, as they'll be going into their elimination stuff this next week, I believe. Anyway, we're going up against Peekaboo. Don't get shocked, I guess. There's not much to say about this box besides it's pure long range, long leg rush, purely. With some assassins, of course, but they also are long legs. So to supplement that, they have TRS, Akaya, Luna, and Tensei Jessica. So Luna can provide, 3 of them can provide additional mobility, and Tensei Jessica can provide a teleport. The only tank is Juggler, but more likely that Juggler is not being used as a tank. Definitely because it went cavalry, so it has a lot of offensive power and a lot of AoE potential. Obviously, I banned Wet Ham first because he's the most dangerous of the bunch. But there's a little bit of everything here. Even Sonya's been brought in, and freaking Hiei. When's the last time you've seen Hiei? Anyway, so I banned Wet Ham first. My opponent banned Hilda. Obviously, Hilda. My opponent does have a great deal amount of cavalry. There's at least like 1, 2, 3, 4, even Akaya's cavalry, which I guess Akaya could be used for the buff, but she can also potentially do a lot of magic damage or physical damage if she uses her 3C. Went with Sherry right off the bat. There's not much I can do about the faction buff. If I were to, there's actually no way for me to keep Sherry from getting a faction buff. Elwin can provide a faction buff, Zerida can provide a faction buff, and so can Epsilon. I was going through the Greek alphabet and trying to remember which one it was. Epsilon here. But I banned Omega and Epsilon because they're both very long-range assassins, and I did not want to deal with that nonsense. Zerida I can control a lot easier if my opponent decides to favor those. Grab Christiane because she's my only tank remaining. They start going for my long legs. No surprise there. Went Elwin, so buff coverage has already been taken care of. Doesn't even take an action. I went ahead and got rid of TRS immediately because TRS's attack blessing and her 3C could do a lot of nasty damage. And my opponent's going to, once they get past Christiane's phalanx troops, cavalry is going to probably mow her down pretty well. I went ahead and got rid of Zerida because, again, I don't want to deal with any assassinations. And she's a faction buffer for Hiei, so if for whatever reason my opponent decides to grab Hiei, I can at least hinder that a little bit. Went ahead and went with one moment. Lucretia, sorry, I'm a bit tired, so I'm trying to remember names here. Lucretia. More likely my opponent may have angels and things like that. But with her, I can have at least a little bit of flexibility as far as buffs are concerned and have a long-range potential. Also, just having a self-res in an extra body, it's going to be pretty useful against this massive amount of offense. They go after some of my magic characters, which is fine. They went with Rosalia. So as you can see, the theme is pretty obvious. At this point, I got rid of their teleport and Akaya. At this point, the only support they have is Luna, who can provide additional mobility and a faction buff if needed. Went ahead and grabbed Marielle here. Some additional healing, but also the ability to, since this is cavalry, I could definitely take advantage of that with Amazon champions and potentially mow down anything that happens to come in range. Also, if Sherry does get in range, which she will, at the very least I'll have one character that can tank a hit if I do need to. If I end up losing my healer, I can always use Marielle, and she can tank a hit. They go after 2 of my healers. They grab Luna. So at this point, they have full faction buff coverage in more ways than one. I went and got rid of Hiei. Hiei honestly wasn't probably that dangerous, but he can also do heal reversal. So can Sonya. But I didn't want to deal with Juggler and his 3C nonsense, also negating my my guard. Like at this point, the biggest issue is Elwin, because Elwin's 3C can not only heal negate that can't be removed, He dispels a lot of buffs, and he can prevent, he can negate passives that also can't be cleansed off. I'm more than comfortable with dealing with Ares at this point. I have characters that can at least tank enough damage that they won't be just roll into death. And Sonya definitely can do heal reversal, but her heal reversal can actually be cleansed off. And she's also just an SR character, unfortunately. I like Sonya, but unfortunately she just doesn't compare to Leon, and Leon's already been kind of fallen off the wayside. So I grabbed Lycoris. She's going to be our healer. She does have mass defense, which can hopefully help deal with any possible heal negations. My opponent went ahead and banned some of my long range. At this point, I had pretty much all my assassins. So this leaves me with either Zerida or Pyrotes. Lycoris does have the Dark Faction buff, so I can bring Pyrotes if I need to. And Zerida can get really, really suppressed here because of the amount of mobility my opponent has. So without hide and seek, she can definitely be very short-legged. So they grab Sonya. So essentially 3 cavalry, flyer, and then of course a very highly mobile holy assassin. I grabbed Pyrotes, by the way. Alright. So I looked these up ahead of time to hopefully save a little bit of time. So right off the bat, get our Golem Sorcerer. They get their Glory faction buff. So the only people that didn't get that faction buff were Sonya and Luna, which Luna could buff everyone else with the Princess faction buff. The Princess faction buff is actually kind of dangerous because it does percentage-based fixed damage, which can definitely wear down your units pretty quickly if you don't have any fixed damage negation, which I usually don't have. Anyway, some things to note about this Luna though is she is only 5 stars, so she's not as ridiculous, but she's still pretty resilient against magic. Also, the only ones that actually took angels was Sherry. Rosalia is also only 5 stars. Everyone else is 6 stars. So Luna, flyer type, move again, win God Realm, Queen's Ascension. So really, she's just there for support. She didn't even bring her attack skill. Rosalia, standard chivalry with 3C and sword. Elwyn's went Reign of Glory, Eternal Glow, 3C, and the 1 cost was Crush. I don't actually remember what Ellen usually takes as a 1 cost. But technically it works okay, since the idea, of course, is just they're going to rush across, try to overwhelm my tank. Either overwhelm my tank completely with just raw damage, or make it so she can't guard anymore. And either way, it's going to ensure that Christiane's going to have some sort of damage, which means Elwyn can close in and do Crush for an extra 12% attack, which is not bad. Sonya here, Ninjutsu, which is not that useful on this map. It does help her get across the swamp here, but she won't get it. There's not any defensive terrain in the middle, so Ninjutsu won't provide any additional attack. Brought Strike for additional mobility, of course, and then Chaos Helix is our 3C, which is 2 range and has the ability to possibly do magic damage, depending on what the opponent's stats are. And it inflicts Curse of Wounding, but Curse of Wounding can be cleansed, which is good. And let's see. And if they happen to be holy, she can actually debuff their range, but my tanks aren't holy. And Sherry did bring Shadow Raid with 3C and Gallop, so pretty standard stuff there. The only thing to point out as far as my team, Lucretia brought Mass Attack instead of Cleanse, or not Cleanse, Dispel. Actually, I think it is called Cleanse. The holy spell that dispels buffs, but I replaced that with Mass Attack just so I can ensure I can get a buff on Marielle. Everyone has buff coverage except for Marielle, unfortunately. I have access to Dark and Princess buffs. Standard Christiane, I swapped her Angel troops for Phalanx, because obviously I'm dealing with a lot of cavalry. Lycoris, I brought Faction buff just to give some coverage to Pyrotes. Also have Mass Heal and Mass Protect. Obviously I brought Mass Protect because there's a chance I could potentially keep it so Christiane doesn't get heal negated. Pyrotes, I was considering bringing some sort of archer troop, because obviously my opponent's going to have a bunch of flyers troops potentially. But I went ahead and just stuck with my assassins as usual. Besides that, standard build with Quick Step, 3C and Sly Stride, and standard kit for Marielle with Amazon Champions. Alright, As you can see, my opponent already has quite a bit of coverage, and it's going to get even more insane with Luna here. So right off the bat, my opponent opens with Luna. So anyone that's moving through this aura here will be able to negate 2 spaces of movement. So as you can already see, the Sherry can actually almost reach my my Christiane with her 2-range attack. And at this point, both... I would like to think... actually, I think Rosalia could have potentially made it. But both Elwyn and Sonya can actually reach, thanks to the Wind God realm here. So Sonya can go 1, 2, 3, and then do 3C. And then Elwyn, of course, can go 1, 2, 3, 4, because he has same troops and attack there. So at this point, he could just start unloading. I opened with faction buff, of course, to ensure I had as many buffs as possible and to get guard up. And then, of course, I went ahead and did Mass Protect to go ahead and get those immunities up and running. Alright, so with that said and done, went ahead and just got Mass Attack up, which gives us a little bit extra immunities as well, and also ensures everyone has attack and defense buffs. Now, something to note about Sherry here, she did move up, and she's actually in range of Pyrotes. I think my opponent was not very familiar with Pyrotes, and did not realize that Dark Thorn has 3 range. So I'm actually within range to go ahead and shoot Sherry. Now, Sherry does have this res icon, so that can mean one of 2 things. Usually, if she has 2 res icons, that means she has her exclusive armor, and she has that helmet that heals after fixed damage and will save you from dying from fixed damage once. So she either has one or the other. More than the more likely option, the better option, is to have the hat and not the shirt. For whatever reason, in my head, I assumed my opponent did not have the helmet. So my opponent's moving up. So at this point, I was like, all right, well, I'll just move in. So this Sherry has full buffs, full HP, and around that much HP. Right now my attack's 1387. It's going to go up 30%. Well, once I start the combat, and I've got also additional attack and crit chance from the Forest Night Elves, and that's pretty much it. So the question is does my opponent have last rites? Yeah, so she healed to full. So it looks like 23,000 HP. Okay, I actually had enough range. I don't think she had last rites, because I don't think I would have been able to do that much damage through her last rites. But whatever the reason, I was able to get the kill with Pyrotes, which is always a good thing. And with Sliced Ride, she can easily get back. Yeah, Sliced Ride only procs when she hits, unfortunately. So I back off, and I actually get healed to full thanks to the healing terrain there. So Strike comes in. So attacking in melee or range doesn't really matter since Christiane can counter from range. Does pretty good damage. I believe she was doing magic. Actually, no, she was doing physical. Yeah, because her M defense is higher than her defense, so that was actually pretty helpful. Unfortunately, the Phalanx still got shredded by the werewolves pretty badly, and I got hit with the Curse of Wounding here. It can be, like I mentioned before, it can be cleansed, but it will take a turn. Either I have to heal it off with Lycoris, heal it off with Marielle, or heal it off with, or just pass turn on Christiane in the terrain, which will, in results, do damage first before it actually does the cleanse part. So, conveniently, this puts Sonya in range. So even with the damage reduction, or the reduced damage from having the commandment, I was still able to kill Sonya. That's the biggest issue about Sonya, is she's 100% a glass cannon. She cannot take hits anywhere near what Leon can, and it shows. Also, since I had spear troops, that counter her Cav class, and Marielle is Holy, which counters the werewolves. So I got greedy here, like I always do. I had a few options. I could have just ran up and tried to attack Luna, and honestly I think I should have. But I really was hoping to get a kill on Elwyn. Now, in order to reach, I had to pop Enduring Faith, which also meant my buff cycled, which unfortunately means I have no buffs for this attack. But I was hoping with Spear Troops I was going to get through. But Blood Shield procced. Yeah, if Blood Shield had not procced, I would have gotten the kill. And it would have been a kill because he was near allies. Conveniently, I did push him away, so now he can be self-res, but it doesn't really matter. I went ahead and just moved into the forest. I mean, at this point, I've killed 2 of their units. I'm going to be losing 1 of mine. My opponent's, of course, popping everything to ensure that Marielle dies, because if that doesn't happen, well, I'll kill another unit. But it was super overkill. That was almost double. So at this point, I went ahead and got full bloom. And then Reign of Glory. It's going to move 4 steps, so he's going to recover 80% of his health. Yeah. So this is Cav against... Once that's Phalanx gone, it's Cav versus Infantry. So I do get pretty shredded here. And at this point I was like, alright, well, free strike. I'll kill your self-res. And I have a Poppet here conveniently to finish you off. But just a few things to note. Out of all the buffs that got dispelled, I did not lose any of the immunities. So I actually didn't lose the heal negation. Alright, sorry, I didn't get afflicted with heal negation. I did get passive. I did lose my guard buff, and I got hit with the passive negation. So that means that right now Christiane can't guard at all. But she is getting healed up thanks to Lucretia's hammer. So minimum health. Poppet finishes him off, and at this point my opponent only has 2 units left and no way of actually killing Christiane. What would have happened at that point is, at best, Luna can't reach anything by herself because she already popped her actor movement stuff. So that just leaves Rosalia, who also popped everything except Chivalry, so she can definitely get in range. She'll be able to kill a unit. After that, I would finish her unit off, and then that would be it. So pretty straightforward match. Marielle, of course, did the most damage since she attacked twice. And both Puritas and Marielle got kills. And then, obviously, Rosalia managed to get yeah, she got the kill because she killed Marielle. Alright, so yeah, just a kind of a quick and simple match. I was a little concerned about the rushdown strats, but I was pretty confident I was going to be able to kill my opponent before they killed me. Even with the little bit of magic troops I had, Luna wasn't going to be able to stop it. Alright, so there you go. I'm sitting at 1652 points, 55% win rate, which is usually my usual, to be honest. I had some good win streaks, but then I also got wrecked real hard in certain situations. In a lot of cases, I got really sloppy on some of my matches. Overall, though, I'm glad I made the changes I did make. I think the only change I made, of course, was dropping Sherlinka for Angelina here. Angelina kind of just provides that additional pressure as far as mobility is concerned. A lot of the opponents I run into are a lot of they're either mass AoE or they're like, you know, mass highly mobile assassin types, which I'm not faulting anyone for. The meta is essentially if you don't have fully built up troops, you generally want to go AoE. Also, you generally want to go AoE or some sort of rush strat anyway because it's just simply faster. It makes for faster matches. Either you succeed in your strat and you know, get in the lead in kills, or just immediately slaughter your opponent, or you fail and you're like, all right, well this match is a wash. Obviously, if you try to play it out, it would take a lot more time, which could be useful as far as the learning experience is concerned. But if you're just trying to go up the rankings, more likely they're just gonna just slam against your opponent and hope your strat is enough to get you up the rankings. As much as I would love to climb the rankings, once you hit gold, it just takes so long to go up ranks, and you're going up against a lot of other people that are also going up ranks. Pretty much anyone that's beyond gold 3 is obviously there to try to get to Langrisser rank and possibly even go to the finals. So you're going to be going up against a lot of tough opponents, and if you're in my case, if you happen to be going up a matchup that just doesn't work very well against you, you're just kind of screwed and kind of have to just try to make do. I would say, as far as critiques, as far as Apex is concerned, I mean, obviously there's this various issues with the meta. The mobility is so high now that like taking anyone that's short leg is very, very risky without any additional support. And having to babysit characters that have low mobility could be a huge drain on resources that you don't really have the time to spare in this. But I think my greatest critique right now for Apex is the fact there's not really, there are not any saved, you can't save your formations. Like right now, you can see my team, and I've been talking about, doing maybe a AoE team or something like that. The only way I can actually sit down and form that team without breaking this formation here is to pretty much pop open this Excel spreadsheet or open up some sort of online app or something. I kind of wish there was just some save slots, like maybe 2 or 3, so I can have okay, I have my team here, my standard team, and then maybe my experimental team where I want to try something new. Maybe want to go full AoE, or just full on rush assassin with no tanks or something along those lines. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Sorry if I'm sounding a bit tired. It's been a long, rough week with work, and also Elden Ring came out, so I've been playing a shit ton of that. It's also been very busy in this game, unfortunately. Well, I mean, it's fortunately because it at least ensures you have plenty of content, but got Masquerade of the Sand, so you have to grind those. But the real grind here, of course, is Dimensional Expedition did start again, which means I have to do all this stuff again. I mean, the rewards are nice, but grinding through this is such a hassle. I'll probably spend this weekend grinding through these, using up all my supplies, and that'll probably be enough to wipe out a number of these. Yeah, it's a bit annoying, especially since at this point, the way Dimensional Expedition works is if you win it, if you fully complete it, you get a lot of quote-unquote ore that you can use to upgrade everybody. And essentially those people that are already winning and able to complete it essentially just kind of snowball a little bit and get ahead of everyone else as far as the quote-unquote technologies go. And at this point there's already people that have already finished, which is just kind of ridiculous. It's kind of insane. But with my casual team, I'm happy with what we got, so we'll probably get in the top 12 like we usually do. And even if we don't, it's not a huge loss. In any case, that's enough of me rambling, so I'll see you guys next season, what'll be Season 10. At that point, there'll be a lot of new characters, such as Iron Chancellor and, was it? Honestly, all the names have failed me at this point, so I know Iron Chancellor's coming. There's also the collab with from that game that has the tank and the military stuff. I honestly don't remember. I'm way too tired for this stuff, and it's way too early in the morning. So I'm just gonna call it here. I'm the Depressed Hero. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 9. I'll see you guys next season.